Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford here with you. And good morning, Margie.
Good morning, Jim.
Well, I'll tell you, if this weather gets any better, I'm going to, I think we're going to have to wire microphones at home for WBRT because it's so hard to leave my hilltop with the sun shining, and I don't know, everything's turning green.
Oh my goodness, you're waging philosophical this morning.
The daffodils have been up for a couple of weeks now, which seems kind of early to me, but anyway, I'll take this weather. I will not complain, though. I think we've got some rain in the forecast, but rain and 70 degrees does not bother me one bit.
No, this is great. I knew it's going to be a good day. I know, because my favorite parking spot was open.
Oh.
One which I can get into without I can just slide right into it,
Right.
you know. So, I mean, that's my favorite spot, and it was open. So I know it's going to be a good day.
There you go.
A harbinger of things to come.
Well, you know, it's nice when you can use your rear view camera just while you're backing up, and you don't have to use it to try to parallel park.
Right. Well, yeah. We all know where that lands us.
All right. Well, Margie, I'll let you introduce our guest. You were kind enough to, while I was working on another avenue, to recruit this young man to join us.
Well, we're privileged to have with us today Lance Blanford, who is the Workforce Development Coordinator for Bardstown City Schools. And they just had their ribbon cutting on their great technological center. And so, Lance, talk to us and tell us what all's going on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here on your show. Love the opportunity to talk with you all and hear your perspective, too, on what it is that we're doing at Bardstown City Schools. And I know that you all both have been instrumental in pushing these conversations throughout the community for years and years, so certainly appreciate it. But excited to be here and excited to announce that, we cut the ribbon on Bardstown Polytechnic Center.
Yeah.
It was, I think, the 22nd of February, so last month, nearly a month ago now, or a little over a month ago. And wow, what a turnout. We had about 225 people show up.
Oh, I knew it was a lot.
It was more than what we expected. I'm just thankful that Chef Witzel in our culinary department had prepared for more people than what we expected, so everyone got fed. And it was a great turnout. Community leaders, employers, alumni. It just was a great gathering of our community to come around something so positive. That's going to impact our community for years and years to come.
Oh, yeah, this was a historic event. It really was.
You know, when you're in it, you don't really think of it being that way. But once I had the chance to kind of sit back and process what it was that had happened, you know, this project we've been working on for around 4 years, and I can remember the approximate timeline on that, because when we received the grant that we applied for from the governor, we were all in masks, so I know roughly about the time that we received the grant, and then of course we hit the ground running shortly thereafter. And so it's been a long project, and so to have that, like, once you're in the middle of it, it's a little bit difficult to think about what it is that really this is going to, what kind of impact. You know, you're just kind of going through the motions and making sure that everything is moving forward. And but now that we're here and I'm looking back on it, I just to say that I'm proud, and I'll speak on behalf of Bardstown City Schools, to say that we're proud is an understatement, because, you know, this is something that will benefit our community and our families, our children, for years and years and years to come.
Absolutely.
And it's just to say that I was part of it, a small part of it, is humbling and so rewarding, and is probably one of my biggest accomplishments of my professional career. And so that is, so I'm just thankful for the opportunity that everyone has given me, and then of course then Bardstown City Schools and Superintendent Dr. Clark for having the vision for this to come to a reality. You know, we had talked about Bardstown City Schools has long been really dedicated to high quality academic programming. And before the show, we were all talking about, in the past, when I was coming through high school, it was, college or bust.
Sure.
And, we felt the pressure, and it was told to us, like, you need to go to college or you're not going to be successful. You need to make sure you get a higher education and all of that. And Bardstown, for years and years and years, did a good job of doing that, preparing those students for that. But now the pendulum has swung back to kind of going back into what is best for an individual student and understanding how that student learns, and then making sure that you are providing them with the opportunities in high school to pursue what they are going to be best at. And that may not mean that they need to go to college. That may not mean that they need to go to a post-secondary training option. It may mean that they just are going straight into the workforce, but they're prepared for it, and then they're needed. And so making sure that we are just identifying the strengths, the skill sets of each individual student, and then providing them with all of the options, which we are now able to do with Bardstown Polytechnic Center, is really what I'm most excited about in this building. The building is nice, the equipment is nice, and we'll talk more about that, but it's the theoretical, I think, educational philosophy of making sure that you are individualizing each student's education, which is the most important thing that comes out of this.
Right. What's exciting for me, of course, at my age, looking back over education, and we've seen how things have evolved, but one of the most exciting things to me is the collaboration with business and industry. When I was in school, there was really wasn't much of that or much thought about it. Of course, everything then again was college focused.
Right.
And in fact, now when I graduated high school, I went to a 2 years electronics program, and I will tell you, I felt a little pressure. Why aren't you going to UK? And I'm like, well, of course, at our 5-year reunion, I'd been out of school, and I was working in a manufacturing job, a good job. Now I ended up leaving that because I wanted to get into journalism, but that's another story. But the that partnership, that collaboration, and that to me is one of the high points. Or you have benchmarks in history, and that's one of those, because I never would have expected that, but it makes perfect sense, because they need a trained industry, and business need trained workforce. And let's face it, right out of high school, you've got a high school education, but you don't have the depth of knowledge or even life experiences you will through a technical program like that.
Absolutely.
And you think of benchmarks. Since I've been running the Leslie County Gazette for 20 years, and over that 20 years, I've seen there's major benchmarks in the history of the city school system. One of the big ones was the purchase of the Salt River property, because that made so much growth possible.
Yeah, we were limited.
Yes, absolutely.
We were limited by where we are. We can't expand that much on our original campus.
Right, and then of course this is another huge event in the history of the city school system that will change lives.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, and I think that's what you're saying. The Polytechnic Center wouldn't have been a reality without the purchase of the Salt River property. Because
absolutely.
We vacated the former elementary school, and then obviously renovated that school to the Polytechnic Center, and built the state-of-the-art elementary school out on the Salt River campus. And so, the foresight of our previous educators and superintendents and Board of Education, it's just, if it weren't for them, then we wouldn't be here today.
Right. And Jim and I have talked about, and I've always maintained that a school board has to look 10 years down the road.
For sure.
At the least. They've got, and of course I was on the board when we were thinking about this, and so it's just warms your heart, to see things come into fruition after that amount of time. I was at the ribbon cutting of the Polytechnic Center, and I was just blown away by what you have there. I mean, you have better equipment than I had in nursing school. of course, we did practice on the real patients now, which,
Right.
but it's probably good to start out on a model,
Sure. Yeah.
which you do have there at Bardstown. I mean, and those things are really a program to help them go through a bunch of scenarios about things. So, talk to us about that. Tell us about that program.
So we'll start with health sciences since you brought that one up first. In the health science space, we've got 6 medical stations that consist of hospital grade equipment, fully functional hospital beds, fully functional head wall units with simulated oxygen and air that comes out. So it is pretty much exactly like what you're going to see if you were to walk into a hospital room. And we also have hospital grade bathrooms so that they can work in training on how to help patients in and out of the bathrooms. In addition to that, in those stations, we also have a variety of different types of trainers. We've got phlebotomy trainers, EKG trainers, things of that nature. And you talk about the different scenarios. A lot of these they come with the ability to make faults or to create issues while going through this, so that they can train on how to adjust and react to those situations. And so we've got, again, the most advanced medical dummies. They're not real life patients, but they are, the medical grade dummies that we're working on, mannequins that we're working on. I guess that's a better word than dummies, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get confused about what I'm talking about.
Nope.
But yeah, so I mean, the space is awesome. It allows for a lot of flexibility, and it allows us to, when I say flexibility, really it just allows us to do more certifications than what we were able to do before. So before, we were really just kind of primarily focused on pre-nursing. With the opening of this space, we were able to add an additional health science instructor, which then allowed us to expand our certifications into much more than just the pre-nursing certification. We're able to do EKG tech certification, phlebotomy, vet tech, clinical medical assisting, and dentistry. And so we've got a bunch of different certifications that, again, it goes back to that individualizing the student education and creating opportunities for them. And if a student is particularly interested in one of those fields, then we have that opportunity to train them. And then it goes back to the collaboration with local businesses and getting them the real world experience in there too, which is helpful.
Can you have them following these professionals?
Sure. Yeah. So this year I have approximately 75 students, seniors that are out in the community. We're very, very intentional about the opportunities that we create for our students and send them out into the workforce. Many of the students, especially in the health science realm, have their industry certification and are working in either some sort of medical facility. Most of them are working in a long-term care facility utilizing that certification, making $17, $18 an hour. So I tell them all the time, man, you see these kids' eyes light up when they're freshmen, and I tell them, hey, in 4 years you can get paid to go to school because you get educational credit by going out, and you can make $17, $18, $20 an hour, and man, their faces light up. But I tell them, I'm like, but there's a process and there's a commitment that you have to go through in order to earn that opportunity.
You got to do the work.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so all of our programs have that option, the engineering department, for example, we have their state-of-the-art equipment in advanced manufacturing, automation. We've got a pneumatics and hydraulics trainer, and also a logic control system, which is, if they were to walk into an advanced manufacturing facility here in Nelson County, they're going to know exactly how this works, because the PLCs, there's different types, but our system can change to different types of PLCs, and so they may go to Ty Summit and work on a particular PLC, and then they may switch into
What's a PLC?
It's a programmable logic control system.
Okay.
And so it operates the machinery.
Right, I see.
And so by us having that in our engineering space, they're able to get familiar with the systems, and then again, they're ready to go right into the workforce and utilize their skills that they've learned. And then again, the pneumatics and hydraulics and all the trainers that are going in there, if a machine breaks down, they're able to analyze what went wrong, fix it, and repair it. They can do some 3D printing, which is really neat.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Let's say that hypothetically a piece breaks down on the machine, if they can go and analyze how that piece was built and do the diagram on it in CAD, design the piece, then they can go 3D print that piece and then put it back on the machinery and get it up and going again. And so they're learning. This is real life. This is happening every day in the walls of Bardstown Polytechnic Center. And so it's really equipping the students with the skills they need. We just started the construction general contracting, so they're learning HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and carpentry. And then we just opened a state-of-the-art culinary space as well. And you're talking about a segue right into our hospitality and tourism industry. There it is. And before the show we were talking about the arts degrees and finding jobs in the arts degrees, and I've struggled there for several years of figuring out what a student that is really creative and artsy and what we can help them. How can we help them get into a good paying job? A lot of them have found their interest in culinary.
I bet. That's awesome.
And so it's been a great experience. But yeah, it's like I said, all the equipment that we have is industry grade, and it's the most recent technological advancements. And so the trick now is just going to be in making sure that we keep up with the pace of industry in the educational sector. So,
well, you also have students that are being equipped to work, such as at a radio station or a TV station.
Yeah. Failed to mention the media arts. Yeah.
Yes.
We've got a state-of-the-art studio up there.
Yeah, I've heard that, and it's like, well, of course, I deal with video and audio quite a bit myself, but I still need to come and check out the studio. I probably couldn't operate it, but I love that stuff. I love the technical aspect of all that. And I think what's really important to me is the fact that all these students get to get some industry experience. You mentioned carpentry as part of the construction. And my dad always called me lightning when I was helping him, put something together with a hammer, because he said I never struck twice in the same spot. So I could have used a little instruction there. I generally made more dents than got nails driven, but anyway, but that's just so important. I mean, that's kind of life experience you can't go to college for. I mean, working in an office, working on a site, and it's like you mentioned all these trades, and it's like, now the only experience I got on any of the trades is doing my own, trying to save a buck and do it. Well, there's a lot of times when you can't do it yourself, but I'm just curious. I like to know, how things are put together, and so over the years of home ownership, I've done some of it, but those are just so valuable skills. Even if somebody doesn't take up HVAC or construction or they're in some specialized aspect of that, because there's big money everywhere in knowing these trades.
Sure.
And especially if you know a number of them. I mean, you're looking, and those are just such great skills, and I think about that all the time when I'm at a government meeting and somebody comes before them to talk about estimates about doing, any kind of construction work or building, and it's like that's just great knowledge. So
absolutely.
Many years ago, I had a girlfriend whose father was a contractor, and whenever I went out to their house, he had a large cutting board as his desk. He'd have TV on, and he had, thick reams of paper, it looked like, on there, and because he was doing calculations. Let's see, he built one of the banks here in Bardstown years ago, and other buildings around the community. But that just really impressed me. He had so much knowledge about engineering, basically, and business, and he made money at it, and and he enjoyed it. So anyway, but that's the Polytechnic Institute is just such a huge opportunity, and it's like I can't emphasize that enough. That that's just going to change so many lives and some directions people take in life. And like I've always said, even if somebody gets involved in a program and it's not for them, the fact that they know that can, a lot of times those experiences will lead you to the path that you really want to take.
Yeah.
So there's no wasted time exploring any of these things.
No.
It's always an education.
Hey, the thing about it is that in years past, you had, in your workforce, you had laborers, your common laborers, you ditch diggers, et cetera, et cetera. There's no such thing as that anymore. I mean, if you're going to dig a ditch, you've got to know how to operate a complicated piece of machinery.
Mm-hmm.
So, by this opening up, I mean, we're giving people a chance to do to get into something meaningful like that. Whereas, before they may have been a ditch digger and made a good living at it.
Right.
Because, ditch digging's hard and it's necessary for all the things that we do. But you didn't have to have an education to do that. And now you do.
Right. And I think it's important, that, yes, like, we're super excited about the Bardstown Polytechnic Center. But also, too, we really stress that it's important to couple that with strong core content. Like, you have to have the mathematical skills
absolutely.
in order to be a successful construction worker. Like, you have to have good science to be a good engineer. And so balancing that is very, very important for us. It's the joke we always make is when you're talking about the automotive and the automotive sector, like, you want someone that is highly intelligent fixing the brakes on your car, right?
Right.
And so we stress to make sure that we have a well-balanced student. Another thing is and I can't remember the exact number on it, but it was a startling number. It was like 40% or 60%, something like that. Don't quote me. But of the jobs that our future students are going to have don't even exist yet, right? And so that is because of the rapid advancements of technology. And so, again, as teachers and in this industry, or in this in the field of education, it's important that we consider that and making sure that we have students that are able to think deeply and have that core content knowledge and are able to adjust with the rapid changes of technology, and that we have the most recent technological equipment, as I mentioned earlier, available to us to train on, because typically education moves a lot slower, unfortunately, than industry.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that we keep up with that.
20 years ago, who could imagine that you would be practically attached surgically to your phone?
Right. And how it's changed. Now the advancement of AI, and I know everybody's talking about it, but I mean, it's a fact that it's going to forever change how our lives operate, especially in the world of work. And so again, just making sure that we have students that are well-rounded with core content and technical skills, so that they are best prepared to adjust to those changes is critical.
All right, well, Lance, we need to take a commercial break, get some messages in. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks and our very special guest, Lance Blanford, Workforce Development Coordinator for the Bardstown City Schools. We've been talking about the Polytechnic Center that recently opened, had the ribbon cutting in February. It's also known as the former Bardstown Elementary School that's been turned into something wonderful. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned for more Bradford and Brooks. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks on this beautiful Wednesday morning in downtown Bardstown. Sun is shining, and it was a little nippy this morning when I came out to the car, but with that sunshine, I'll take a little cool weather. All right, we're back with Margie and I are back with our very special guest, Lance Blanford, who's Again, workforce
Development Coordinator.
At the Bardstown City Schools, and I'll tell you, if you're old as I am, you've been watching education. This has been a almost miraculous transformation over the years to where we're at now. And the opening of the Polytechnic Center at the city school system is like I say, that's one of those bellwether moments that's going to just change the history of the city school system. And more importantly, it's going to affect so many lives from this point forward of young people who will have opportunities that, of course, I was going to say back in my day, but even my son, who graduated, 10 years ago, that really were not quite available then. So it's going to transform education here in the city and the county. And of course, the county's doing their share at the Up Center. So we're going to see our grandkids are going to have so many opportunities that our kids and that we didn't have way back in the day. I hate to think how long ago it was, but thanks for being here, Lance. And I know we've got still got some time to discuss your role as workforce development coordinator. I'll bet your job has changed just since you've been in it and expanded, and it's got to have been an exciting process to see how things have evolved. When the first discussions came up on the school board about the elementary school evolving into this type of center, it almost seemed like a pipe dream. It's like, well, where are you going to get the money for that? Well, the state, you all won the big grant, and I know it took more than that, but what a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and just to see it come to fruition was just real satisfying for me, just as an observer, because I took some classes at Bardstown High back when I was going to Bethlehem. We went there for PE, health and PE, and also physics with Mr. Shams. And what a wonderful teacher. He's been, of any of the teachers I had in high school, he's probably one of the best. He was one of the hardest.
Oh, believe me, there are plenty of students who didn't want to go into that class.
Well, he certainly he's made a mark on my life, and I think, and still, as I still think fondly of him, and I've always had such respect to see him riding on his bike, and I wish I was in the kind of shape he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks great.
He stays going, doesn't he?
He stays. He keeps going, and I think that's, just from my wife who works in long-term care, she always says the secret to a long life is staying active.
Yeah, it is.
You don't sit in your easy chair and wait for something to happen. So anyway, I'm getting off on my stories. Lance, we're here to talk about you and workforce development.
Well, Lance, what we've talked about mostly is high school students, but I understand, that you're doing things with younger students also.
Yeah. When Jim was talking about it, my role changing and expanding now, when I came on board in 18-19 school year, we had some career and technical education programming, and we had some good programming going on.
Oh yeah.
Just not as much as what we are able to have now. But a shout out to Brenda Buffin. I know a lot of people talk about former educators and Mr. Shams and Brenda Buffin. You got to give a shout out to her because she was really instrumental in getting career and technical education on the map at Bardstown City Schools. And she came to the grand opening the other day and was just, she was in tears. She was so excited about the opportunities that the student have. But in 18 and 19, we had a little bit of programming going on, and then shortly thereafter we got the grant, and so my sights were set on developing this Polytechnic Center as it should be. And so now that this is complete, I'm excited about the opportunity because I work for the district, and so I'm excited about the opportunity of turning my sights into the lower grades in middle and elementary, primary, and pre-K even, and just creating programming and working with educators and administrators throughout the district and creating programming that exposes these students to careers and helps them understand the importance of work, right? In a fun and engaging way. And I was telling you, Margie, one of the easiest things I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring them over to the Polytechnic Center and let them see the stuff and let them see the kids working over there. You know?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be inspirational.
Yeah, that's an experience in itself.
Absolutely, right. So we're going to open the doors to them, and we're going to work on some programming where some of our career and technical education leadership organizations, so student leaders within engineering and within culinary, bring these students in, elementary students, pre-K students, bring them in and do lessons with them that are on their level to just expose them, because there it's a win-win situation, right? The younger age students are obviously getting the exposure and interest in the trade, but what's the old saying about if you want to learn something, just teach it, right? And so then that allows our high school students to teach, kind of develop a more in-depth knowledge, and also feel good about what they're doing in raising another, future.
And it might even encourage them to become teachers, which we also need.
And by the way, excited to announce, you may have heard of the board meeting, we are hiring a education, let me get this right, educator development coordinator position for the district. Yeah.
Because that hits the slot I was thinking.
Yeah.
You've covered everything but that.
It's great because it falls into what we're talking about today, because career and technical education, one of those program areas is education.
Right.
So that person is going to be hired on to teach education. So they're going
to, the title is what?
Educator Development Coordinator.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate. But they're going to teach several classes throughout the day to students who are interested in pursuing the field of education. We have a partnership through Western Kentucky University where those students can take dual credit class, which means that they can get high school and college credit at the same time. And then that develops a pipeline straight into the Western Kentucky and other education programs throughout the state. And so they get a jump start on that. We also can maintain that relationship with that student and hopefully one day invite them back to Bardstown City Schools to teach, because we need to make sure that that's a pipeline that is as important as any other pipeline. Because if you don't have teachers, then how can you raise other industry professionals? So.
Back in my day, especially for girls, there were two things: you could become a nurse or you could become a teacher.
A teacher, yeah.
I chose becoming a nurse, for which one of my teachers never forgave me because she thought I should have been a teacher.
You'd have made a great one.
But
well, you've taught me a lot over the last 10 and a half years, Mark.
Well, I've tried, Jim.
I'm sure we could find you a spot at Bardstown City Schools if you want to come back.
No. I want you to talk about some of the success stories that you've had.
Yeah.
Of what you're intending to do and what's actually happening.
Yeah. So this is not something that is in theory. It is happening, and it's happening year after year, and it's been great to watch. It's been great to watch, and I think one of the most valuable pieces of this is that we are able to connect students with industry professionals. They're creating that professional networking relationship, and then they're staying in our community and pursuing an education at the same time, working, or they go off to a college, 2-year or 4-year, and they remember the professional relationship that they had developed back in high school in their work experience, and they're coming back to our community. We lose a lot of students that go out of our county and then never return, and so that it's very important. And so there's been multiple instances like that. For example, I was telling you all, we've got a student that was super interested in dentistry. She went through our health science program. I got her placed at Shrewsbury Dental Practice in Bardstown, and she worked there throughout her senior year, and she is still currently working there on year, I think, 3. And Kaylee's her name, and she's a wonderful young lady. And Luke Shrewsbury came up to me at the opening of the Polytechnic Center the other day and said, if you can crank out more Kaylee's, I'll take as many as you have. She's a dental hygienist working for them, and she's happy as ever. I just talked to her not too long ago, and she's a great young lady, and I'm super proud of the trajectory she's taken. So those types of stories are aplenty. We have a young man that was graduated again our health science department and got a scholarship through the University of Kentucky, and he's on a rotational program where he gets to work with the U of L football team, and then he'll go and work different parts of UK medical throughout his experience, and so that's great. And then of course we've got individuals that have went out and have worked through their senior year, high school senior year, at our advanced manufacturing factories throughout the community, and they're still working. And so there's plenty, there's so many of those types of stories, and it's just very rewarding to keep, to talk to these students and reach back out to them years later, and they're still happy in what they're doing and enjoying it, and they're developing in their skill sets, whether they're not on the job training or whatever. But that's what it's about. We want to make sure that this county, we can continue to grow, and that industry wants to continue to relocate here. And so if we are doing a good job as a school system in creating high quality workforce, then that's more incentive for industry to come here. And so it's people like Kaylee that I'm going to talk about frequently, and I'm just again super proud. It's a rewarding position to be in, to do that.
And Bardstown still, of course, has advanced placement courses and all those things, which encourage those who are going to want to go to college to get there.
Yeah, like I said, I mean,
and to earn credits before they even get there.
For sure. I mean, that is our main focus, is to make sure that we're not putting more emphasis on one area than the next, that we are cranking out a well-developed, well-rounded, well-educated young person. And when I say it's not just about core content and career and technical education, so English, science, math, social studies, and then health science, engineering, construction. It's also about the social emotional status of making sure that they understand how to be a good professional, the skills that it takes, like how to be responsible and work as a team, and how to dress appropriately, and how to public speak, and things of that. Those skills we work on throughout those programming, so that we are developing the most well-rounded student.
That's great, because I think that, in the past, those were, a lot of those are kind of soft skills that there's no classroom training. And it comes through practical experience, but when you're in high school, and you can learn those skills and learn how important they are to dress properly. I mean, and that may sound, Mickey Mouse how they dress, but depending on the workforce where you're at, that can make or break it. It's just those are skills that there's no book to read for that, or you can read it, but you don't absorb it like you will discussing it and practicing it.
Right. Again, one of just the benefits of getting them out their senior year and getting the exposure to a workplace that we just can't quite duplicate at the school.
Right. Well, Lance, we're down to about the last 4 minutes. You can anything else you want to elaborate on? If parents are interested in finding out more about the programs at the Polytechnic Center, who can they contact?
Well, they can contact me, and my email is lance.blanford, BLANFORD, at bardstown.kyschools.us. Feel free also to call up to the high school, and they can reach me as well. They can also go on our school's website to get additional information, and if they go under the academics tab, they can click on the Path to Pro. It's Path and then the number 2 Pro, and that will tell them about more of the educational opportunities that we have in the way of career and technical education at Bardstown High School. But yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited and thankful about this opportunity, and just happy that the community is getting behind this. I encourage employers and families to, if you all have unique opportunities for our students to develop a skill set, please reach out to me so that I can get those students into these great opportunities. Sometimes they are paid opportunities, many times they're paid opportunities, but sometimes if the opportunity is valuable enough to the student, they will pursue it without getting paid. We have many of those as well, and so, but we're always looking for more and more of those types of scenarios and placements. And earlier before the call, I think you all were saying, Margie, I think you were saying that it's important to also understand the value that it can bring for the employer to take on an intern, and it's rewarding as an employer.
Well, it gives them a chance to mentor,
right,
and influence somebody in their profession.
Right, absolutely. And so, it's like I said, the program's great. Of course, I work for the Bardstown City School Systems, but we're as public school systems, Nelson and Bardstown, we're doing a good job of making sure that we're putting these students in the best position that we can to push this community forward and for them to have a high quality life as they move forward. And at the end of the day, that's the most important piece.
Absolutely. Well, as the old saying goes, our children are our future, and we to give them the best shot at life, they need quality educational opportunities, and I think our local school systems are one of the feathers in the hat for economic development in our community, because what employers come in and they'll see that we're leading the way in some ways on providing those educational opportunities. All right, well, that's going to be it today. Lance, thank you so much for coming in.
Yes, thank you.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you all.
Always, it's exciting to hear all these opportunities and success stories from our kids. Because sometimes, as a parent, you get cranky and you think, well, these kids, what's the matter with kids today, as the song goes. But it sounds like there's lots of opportunities, great opportunities. And thanks for the work you do. All right, that's it for Bradford and Brooks. Margie, you and I will be back next Wednesday.
Yes, we will.
All right, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
That's right. All right, well, we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody, and get out and enjoy the weather. Take care.
All right.